I, F32, kind of want my boyfriend, M35, to be my dad. Just the title sounds creepy. Me and my BF have been together for only 6 months but have been friends for about a year longer than that. We only ever hung out with a friend group and did D together and stuff, and I fell in love with him without really hanging out at his house or interacting with his kids. I knew he had kids, M7, F12, and he'd talk about them, but I didn't meet them until I was already in love with him. Some background: I came from an abusive household. Both of my parents were emotionally/psychologically abusive, and my father was an angry drunk who threw things and punched walls. I've been in therapy for it throughout my life, when I can afford a therapist, yeah USA, but I'm currently not. I've never really hung out around a healthy family with kids in it. I'm estranged from my extended family since cutting off my parents, and most of my friends either don't have kids or they're very small babies. The first time I went over to my boyfriend's house, his kid was acting up and I felt my whole body go tight waiting for him to get angry/aggressive with the child. And he didn't. He was kind and gentle. I was absolutely just. I'd never seen that. The more we spend time together and the more I see him around his 2 kids, I keep having these sort of earth-shaking revelations like, this is what parents are supposed to do. This is what it's supposed to look like. My therapists had explained, verbally, what it's supposed to be like. But that's very different from actually seeing a parent who genuinely loves his kids and treats them well. I love spending time over there because when he is kind and gentle to his kids, I passively absorb it, is the only way I can think to explain it. Feel safe and warm and protected in an extremely just, primal way that I never felt in my own house or anything. To be clear, I know what daddy kink/DDLG is. And this isn't it. It's not sexual at all. I just see the way he takes care of his kids and wish that I could just duck under that umbrella and be cared for like that too. One time he was telling me about the custody battle he went through with his ex-wife, who didn't want him around the kids, and how hard he fought to stay in their life, and I just started crying. He was comforting and I tried to explain that no adult in my life would have ever fought for me like that. I told him I wish I'd had a dad like you, and he said I wish you did too. Which was very sweet, but I just worry this isn't something I'm supposed to want from my boyfriend, or feel for him. He knows about my parents and we've talked about it a few times. He gets it because he didn't have a great upbringing either. It's probably not okay to cross wires like that. I believe in communication in relationships, so I probably need to talk to him about it. But how do I tell him so it doesn't come off creepy? There's just so much positivity and warmth and unconditional love in his house, and I want to just wrap up in it like a warm blanket. But it's not mine. It's his kids. And I probably shouldn't get the wires crossed like that. I don't know. If I hadn't had to change jobs during COVID, I'd talk to a therapist again, but financially that's just not an option right now. Too long didn't read, raised in an abusive household, now see how my amazing boyfriend loves his kids, and I wish he'd take care of me/love me the same way, since nobody ever did. Is that wrong? Do I talk to him about it? 40-year-old lady here. Lots of people who had shitty parents look at their partners and friends and think I wish my parents were like that. Heck, people with good parents might still look at a great parent and think, dang, they pulled that off better than my dad. It's not that you want your partner or friend to parent you, it's seeing someone do good and wishing that you had it back then with your parents. What you need to do is focus on what a good partner he is to you. And you need to start giving yourself the love you needed as a child. I think actually you're kind of fine. Not fine, because you're still healing from childhood trauma, but kind of fine for your path of healing. What I was worried about is there is a common response some people have who were mistreated, where they see others being treated properly and it is painful. You don't have that. You're responding positively to watching healthy relationships, which is great. And there's nothing wrong with that, as far as I know. For wanting it for yourself, Well, part of healing from childhood abuse is mourning the loss of what you should have had but did not. You've already done a lot of that, but as with any mourning, sometimes something happens and it hits you strongly again. In this case, you now have a better idea of what you missed out on. So, you need to let yourself take time to grieve. But I also think you need to keep in mind that while you are too old now to have a relationship with someone in the parental role who cares for you as a child, a loving partner is somebody you should feel safe and cared for with. And you actually can have some of that safety and concern within a healthy romantic relationship. Think the parts you really want are the parts you should be aiming to get, which is why I think this isn't as much of a problem as it seems to be to you. You're just not used to having it within any relationship, and now are witnessing it within the context of a parent-child relationship. But you aren't mentioning craving any of the parent-child specific parts of it. Just being safe, cared for, and treated with kindness. I think it's really normal to want to have a protective partner who's looking out for you. You all have to be independent adults, but it's nice when you can trust someone else to take charge. That's okay. Maybe not phrase it as dad, but what are those qualities that you appreciate in him? I think it's pretty normal to want that kind of secure, nurturing feeling from a significant other. I wouldn't worry about it at all, unless it detracts from your romantic feelings, then it could become an issue. This answer is so simple yet so accurate. I had a fairly normal childhood with parents who loved me, and I had a ton of nurturing love and protection from my mom, but I also have nurturing protection from my husband, and I see and feel the similarities. I think Up is seeing and feeling these things for the first time, so they don't understand that these feelings and actions are not solely for parents and children. This is perfectly normal and no need to confuse it or tell your partner you want them as a parent. Saying you wish you had that growing up is fine, and they understand that. In fact, they probably have similar feelings of wanting to love and protect you more because of your past experience. I don't think you want him to be your dad, you just want to be treated with the empathy and respect he treats his children. So tell him how you feel, just don't say I want you to be my dad. That'll probably spook him, but beyond that, tell him you've never seen a parent treat their kids right like that, and it makes it feel amazing to be around him. And how much you want more of that. I'm sure he'll feel flattered for basically being called an awesome dad. And then he'll feel able to become more emotionally close to you. All of the feelings Op is describing here sound like part of a healthy family dynamic, not just a healthy parent-child dynamic. Spouse is a family role. My 25F cousin, 26F, resents me for not having an arranged marriage and blames me for hers. Almost all the marriages in my family have been arranged marriages. My mum's marriage to my bio dad was an arranged marriage, but it ended up in a messy divorce and him completely abandoning us before I was even born. My mum had a love marriage the second time, despite the disapproval of her family, and has been much happier with my stepdad than she probably would have ever been with my bio dad. Because of this, my mum has always been very adamant that she would not try to force us, my siblings and I, into arranged marriages despite what the rest of our family thought. I've been with my fiancé, 26M, for 3 years now. We got engaged 2 months ago. He's met my parents and siblings, but as far as the majority of my extended family were concerned, I was single until 2 months ago. Early last year, my fiancé dropped me off home after work one day and my uncle was there. My uncle is the oldest sibling my mum has, so he's seen as the head of the family, i.e., he thinks he has a say in what the rest of us do. It was obvious my uncle was pissed, and he ended up grilling my fiancé, and I assume he met his standards. A lot of arranged marriages are about what both families can gain from one another, for example, wealth, influence, etc. So he told my mum to get us married quickly. He wanted to make it look like we had an arranged marriage before the rest of our family found out. My mum ignored him and told us to keep dating if it's what we wanted. Over the past year, he's mentioned me getting married to my mum every single time he's spoken to her. Apparently, my uncle assumed just because he'd given the order that we were going to get married soon. He told my cousin, his daughter, that I had agreed to an arranged marriage, and because I had and she was older, she should agree to the match he'd found her. My cousin never mentioned this to me, but she did agree to marry the man my uncle found for her. They got married late last year. They haven't had a good marriage and my cousin is very unhappy. Her husband is incredibly controlling and hardly ever lets her go anywhere without him or a member of his family. Last week, she was over at my house when my fiancé came over to drop some of the clothes I'd left at his place over. When I told my family about my engagement, they all assumed it was an arranged marriage and I didn't bother clarifying because it really isn't anyone's business. You don't tend to do sleepovers if you're having an arranged marriage, so my cousin knew immediately it wasn't what she assumed. She started asking me questions about my relationship and I answered honestly. She got really angry at me and kept demanding to know why I didn't tell her about him. Thing is, I'm very close to this cousin but I also know how our family is about dating and I didn't want my male cousins trying to strong-arm my fiancé. They've jokingly threatened this before. She pretty much blamed me for her arranged marriage and said she only agreed because she thought I was going to have one too, and if I had told her I had a boyfriend, she would have had the courage to stand up to her family. She hasn't spoken to me since. I do feel bad for her. I know how unhappy she is, but if she had mentioned what my uncle told her earlier, I would have clarified. I don't want this to be the end of our relationship, but I don't know what I can do to fix this. Please help. Too long didn't read. My cousin agreed to an arranged marriage because she thought I was also going to have one. She's since realized I'm having a love marriage and is blaming me for letting her agree to an arranged marriage when I had no intentions of having one myself. This is in no way your fault. Your uncle is domineering and duplicitous. This is his fault. The problem with having parents like this is they take any resistance as a challenge to power. It is usually shut down harshly. Your cousin probably has no method of dealing with and all of that icky feeling is being directed at the only person she's allowed to be honest with, you. She's blaming you because it's safer than blaming the person who is really responsible here. She is projecting how she feels about herself onto you. While she can't use you as a model, she can certainly use your mother. Tell her you and your family will be there for her if she decides to end her marriage and do something else. If she comes after you again, be kind but firm. She is responsible for her own choices, and she doesn't get to attack you because she wishes she had made the decisions you have. I agree with the others that this isn't your fault and that if you're going along with an arranged marriage was such a big factor in her decision to do the same, she probably should have talked to you about it so you would have an opportunity to clear things up. However, this isn't a problem that you can debate your way out of, so I don't think it's helpful to focus on trying to convince her that you didn't do anything wrong. My advice would be to tell her that you're sorry for the misunderstanding and that if you had known that it was being used to pressure her, you would have taken her side, and let her know that whatever she decides to do going forward, you'll be there to provide support in any way you can. I think that's all you can do, and once you've put that out there, until she reaches out to you and wants to mend fences, I would try and stay out of it. As the seemingly only person in this situation not trying to control her or force her into an arranged marriage, you're safe to lash out at. You won't be upset or angry with her for not wanting an arranged marriage. She can be open with her feelings towards you. Priya, I don't think I will ever fully understand your feelings related to your arranged marriage because I simply cannot live in your shoes, but I do want to be there for you and help you navigate this. Please let me know if you want to talk. How can I, 29F, get over the fact that I'm not my best friend's, 30F, best friend? In 2013, after an exceptionally bad breakup and graduating from college, I moved to a new city and basically started my life over. After a few weeks of subletting, I found a roommate on Craigslist named Cassie, 30F, who I hit it off with immediately. I've always been more of a boyfriend girl in that I was with my ex from 10th grade until college graduation and he was basically my best friend, so Cassie was my first real girl BFF. We lived together for 4 years until Cassie moved in with her boyfriend Jason, 32M, and we had the best time. We almost never fought and spent all of our time at home together. We are both incidentally from the same home state, have a lot of similar interests and personalities and complement each other in lots of ways. I get along super well with Jason too, and they never made me feel like a third wheel. I have a larger friend group now in New City and, thankfully, lots of girlfriends, but Cassie is still my BFF and we talk/text constantly, hang out weekly, etc. Problem, Annie, 30F. Annie is Cassie's best friend. They've been best friends since their early 20s and are kind of a package deal. Annie is very cool and smart and funny, and she and I are good friends too, and there's no competition between us or anything. She and I even hang out without Cassie sometimes. Can't stress enough that we all get along and that this isn't like the movie Bridesmaids or anything. But sometimes I feel really sad that Cassie is my best friend, but Annie is hers. Cassie will refer to me as one of her best friends, but we all know that Annie is number one. If Cassie ever says something like, "You are my favorite," Jason, he laughs and says, "No, that's Annie." If Cassie and Jason get married, Annie will be maid of honor, no question. Everyone kind of says Cassie and Annie like they're one entity. They have very big and bow today I fucked up matching tattoos, though Cassie and I have matching tattoos too. But imagine it being something like a 1-inch potato because we're both from Idaho, whereas Cassie and Annie have gorgeous tattoos that cover most of their upper arm. I don't know how to get over this sadness. It feels really childish. Cassie doesn't ever make me feel left out, and neither does Annie. I love them both, but I guess I'm just jealous that I'm not anyone's favorite in the same way. It feels extra childish of me because I have a boyfriend and I know I'm his favorite, but I guess I just never got to experience having a girl BFF who also considered me her BFF like that. How can I be satisfied with being almost the best and not the best? Too long didn't read. My best friend, Cassie, has her own best friend, Annie. How can I get over feeling like I'm second best? To quote the Mindy Project, best friend is not a person, it's a tier. I have friends going back to middle school, who I would rate as best friends, but for all I know many of them have other best friends. In fact, I know my cousin who is among my best friends will rate her childhood friend and her closest work friend among her other best friends. Now, I don't know how to shift your perspective to that direction, but I think it can be helpful to recognize you are one of her best friends, just not the one and only, because she clearly has more history with Annie. In the same way that my cousin's work friend can't ever have the same intimate connection due to history that me and cousin share. I can't share the connection they have because of their unique professional experiences and physical proximity. They live next door. I live in a different city. Our friendships are different but equal in a way. It may also help to cherish and think about your other close friendships. Maybe you will find some people who can join your tier. The good thing about friendships is that some of the social expectations placed on intimate/monogamous relationships don't apply in them, in that we can have and love multiple friends, without loving our other friends less. It's not like giving out slices of pie. Love for others doesn't affect how much love you get. Also, it seems like you and her are best friends, full stop. I think you need to work on your own self-image and confidence in yourself, as not to rely on companionship, which you have through your bestie, boyfriend, and other friends, for validation. Your role in life is not to be someone's number one BFF, it's to be you. Edit, spelling. Every relationship is asymmetric, and there's something to learn here. Everybody is free to give as much as they want, but nobody has the obligation to give you as much as you want. You should love people for what they are, as long as they don't hurt you on purpose, not for what they give you. 48-year-old woman here who has suffered from the same kind of insecurity about her female friends over the years. Here's what helped me. When Cassie is with you, is she 100% with you? If the answer is yes, really look hard at what that means. When she is with you, she is with you. Now, she may be 100% with her other friend when they're together, but that's not about you at all. The bottom line is that Cassie isn't any less your friend just because she's also close to other people. Cassie isn't 40% your friend and 60% her friend. She is 100% your friend. You're still young, and you have many female friendships in your future. I beg you to reframe how you see these friendships. Ditch the words best friend from your vocabulary. That's middle and high school queen bee bullshit, and we need to leave it behind. My own jealousy caused me to lose a close friend who was 100% there for me, and I only have myself to blame. Edit, typos. So I've been the Cassie in my friendship for the last 12 years, and let me offer you some insight. My two best friends are never competing in my mind. One of them is from the same hometown and same cultural background and likes all the things half of my personality likes. The other one I met in New York, and our family lives / backgrounds / etc. couldn't be more different, but we have the best time together, and she is constantly teaching me new things and likes all the things that the other part of my personality likes. They both consider me their best friend. They're both amazing, smart and incredible women, and while maybe if you asked my mom or my boyfriend who my best friend was, they would choose one of them simply because of time, but that is not how I view it. They are both my best friends and my soulmates. I would never choose a favorite, nor would I ever want to, because they bring equally important, but different things to my life. That was long, but point is, Cassie loves you, and I'm sure she loves Annie too, but not any more or any less. History has an impact on how other people view the relationship, but not on the actual relationship. Don't be sad and don't be jealous. It sounds like you're loved. Also, your tattoo may be smaller, but it's still a tattoo. And it might be smaller just because she already had a giant one on her shoulder, so she wanted to keep it down. I doubt it correlates to love. As I get older, my tattoos get smaller and less drastic.